Romeo and Rosaline were in love, or at least that's what she thought. Romeo made vows of love to Rosaline, but they had to keep their love a secret because their families were enemies. The next day, Rosaline's father said that she needed to marry because she was getting old. He said that at her age, her mother had already had 3 children to take care of. While Rosaline was walking with her friend, Romeo appeared and handed her a love letter. In a stall, they pretended to choose the same necklace so they could touch each other's hands. That evening, Romeo and Rosaline met, and he gave her a necklace with their names engraved on it. Rosaline said she would like to live with him far away from there. Romeo said that would be perfect, and that he could write poetry all day while she took care of the house and the children. But Rosaline didn't like the last part. When Romeo said he loved her, Rosaline couldn't say the same, and the mood became awkward. They agreed to meet at the Masquerade ball, and on the day of the ball, Rosaline's father announced that a new bachelor had arrived in town. But Rosaline said she didn't want an arranged marriage, as she wished to explore the world and live a true love. Rosaline's father introduced her to her new suitor and forced her to have a date with him. Dario tried to start a conversation, but Rosaline said she wasn't interested in an arranged marriage, no matter how many lands or horses his father owned. But Dario revealed that his father had only offered a cow, and that his family was not rich. During the boat ride, Dario tried to talk a bit about himself, but Rosaline said she had a boyfriend. Dario said she could have told him that from the start, and he wouldn't have wasted his time. They decided to go back, but it started to rain. Meanwhile, at the Masquerade ball, Romeo searched for Rosaline and bumped into Juliet. The two were attracted to each other, and Rosaline only arrived after the ball had ended. Rosaline sent several letters to Romeo, but he didn't respond to any. From her balcony, she saw Romeo walking in another direction and decided to follow him. Rosaline caught Romeo declaring his love to another girl, exactly the same way he had done with her, and saw them kissing. Rosaline felt sad because Romeo had found someone else, but she thought the blame was on her for not saying "I love you" to him. Rosaline's uncles arrived for a visit, and with them, her cousin Juliet, who had just returned from her studies. Juliet was happy to see her cousin again, but Rosaline was not pleased at all to discover that her cousin was now dating her boyfriend. Juliet told Rosaline that she was in love with a guy she had met. Jealous, Rosaline asked her cousin if this guy had compared her to the moon and the stars, and Juliet asked how she knew that. To separate them, Rosaline said that Romeo Montecchio had said that to every girl in the town. Juliet was hurt and said she had been very naive. Rosaline told Juliet that she needed to enjoy life more and took her to a bar. There, Rosaline drank and talked with some men, telling her cousin she should do the same. Rosaline met Dario, who asked if her boyfriend was there. She replied that her boyfriend didn't frequent such places. She said that her boyfriend was smart, a poet, and spoke many languages, totally the opposite of Dario. But Dario didn't let it slide and responded with this.
Tu es une femme d'une beauté extrême, et aussi une tête de mille.
While Rosaline kept her cousin away from Romeo, she sent many letters to him, but he didn't respond, and Rosaline became desperate. Over time, Rosaline became friends with Juliet and even started to feel guilty for deceiving her. Rosaline decided to tell Juliet the truth about her and Romeo, but then discovered that Romeo had written many letters to Juliet and visited her every night. Juliet told Romeo to leave, and he asked what he had done to deserve such contempt. Rosaline told her cousin to call him a liar, deceiver, and scoundrel. Rosaline told Juliet to ask Romeo if she had been the only girl he had compared to the moon and the stars. He admitted that he had said that to another girl, but claimed it wasn't sincere, which made Rosaline furious. Juliet loved Romeo, but told him to leave. She was sad, but thanked her cousin for her help. Rosaline decided not to tell the truth, but when their necklaces got stuck together, Juliet saw Romeo and Rosaline's names engraved on Rosaline's necklace. Juliet discovered the truth and said that she had trusted Rosaline, but she had deceived her. Juliet accused her cousin of trying to steal her boyfriend. Rosaline replied that she hadn't tried to steal Romeo from her, but rather to steal him back. However, Juliet thought that Rosaline had tried to get rid of her because she knew she didn't stand a chance against her. The next day, Rosaline came up with a plan to separate Romeo and Juliet. She convinced her friend Count Paris to marry Juliet. Juliet's father agreed to marry his daughter to the Count, but Juliet refused, saying she wanted to make her own choices. Juliet's father believed her daughter's rebellion was Rosaline's fault and told his niece to fix the situation. Rosaline discovered that Romeo and Juliet were planning to get married and rushed to stop it. But her father appeared with Dario and forced her to greet him. When Rosaline was about to cross the dark forest, Dario appeared and noticed that she was scared. He offered to help her cross the forest. Afraid, Rosaline ended up asking him to accompany her. Dario realized they were in Montecchio territory and asked if she was crazy because they would be killed if they were caught. Rosaline told him to relax because the guards didn't usually pass by there at that time, but they were soon seen by the guards and had to run to escape. They hid, but quickly realized they had entered the guards' dormitory. Dario drew his sword, and a fight started. They managed to defeat the guards, but an alarm sounded, and they had to escape on horseback. On the road, Dario asked Rosaline what she liked so much about Romeo Montecchio, but she couldn't answer and just said that they loved each other. Dario said that loving someone is like breathing, and when you're away from the person, you know you love them. Rosaline apologized for dragging him into the mess and apologized for judging him wrongly. Dario noticed that her hand was bleeding, tore a piece of his shirt, and bandaged her hand. They began to feel attracted to each other, and a tension arose. They almost kissed. Rosaline said it was better for her to go back home and felt sad to discover that Dario was leaving because he hadn't found a good reason to stay in the city. Upon arriving home, Rosaline asked the maid what it felt like to be in love, and the maid said that, in summary, she wouldn't have any doubts about what she felt. Rosaline decided to return the letters Romeo had sent to Juliet and apologized for what she had done, but the messenger ended up delivering the letters to Tybalt, Juliet's brother. When Rosaline arrived in town, she learned that Romeo and Tybalt had dueled, and Tybalt ended up dying. Romeo claimed it was in self-defense, but Juliet's father said it was a lie. Juliet said that Romeo was honest and that she believed him. Juliet's father asked if they knew each other. They held hands and confessed their love for each other. Juliet's father ordered the guards to arrest Romeo, but he escaped, and the two families declared war. Rosaline told Juliet that she was sorry and would fix everything, but Juliet told her that she had already done enough and left crying. Rosaline went after Dario and told him things had gotten out of control. She said she had a plan and needed his help, but Dario said he wouldn't get involved, as they had almost died last time. Rosaline couldn't think straight because Dario was shirtless and told him to put on a shirt because he was distracting her. Rosaline admitted she had made many mistakes, but now she was sure she was right. Dario agreed to help her, and they broke into Juliet's room. Rosaline said she had come to help, but Juliet didn't want her help. Rosaline told Juliet that she and Romeo could escape in Dario's boat, but Juliet said she already had a plan and explained she was going to fake her death with a potion that caused temporary paralysis. After the funeral, she would wake up and escape with Romeo. Rosaline said that this plan had disaster written all over it, but Juliet had already taken the potion and fell into a deep sleep. Rosaline tried to lower her cousin through the window, but Juliet's father arrived, and Dario fled. Rosaline was arrested, and her father came to visit her. She begged for help to get out, and her father said everyone in the city already knew that Juliet was dead. Rosaline told her father that she wasn't the daughter he had always wanted, but asked him to trust her. Her father distracted the guards, and she managed to escape. When she reached the church, Rosaline saw Romeo dead beside Juliet, but soon discovered he was alive. Dario had run to tell Romeo about Juliet's plan. Rosaline told Romeo to keep pretending to be dead, and when Juliet's parents arrived, she pretended to cry. Soon after, Romeo's parents arrived looking for their son, and Rosaline lied, telling them he had also killed himself. Romeo's and Juliet's parents began to argue, blaming each other for the tragedy, but Rosaline said the blame was on them and the rivalry between the Montecchios and Capuletos. Convinced by Rosaline, the Montecchios and Capuletos made peace and ended the war between their families. But Juliet woke up just then, and everyone was shocked. However, Rosaline gestured for her to pretend to be dead. Juliet pretended to have taken the poison from Romeo's lips and faked being dead again. They called for a doctor, and the maid appeared and lied, saying they were both dead. The plan worked. Romeo and Juliet sailed away on a boat. In the end, Dario asked Rosaline if she would like to take a trip if he had another boat. She kissed him. They walked away hand in hand, and Rosaline wondered if they would be mentioned in this story when it was told.